Programming Handheld Radios with CHIRP by Paul Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR446.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's Paul Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 metres and PMR446. Right, so I've touched on the Baofeng radios in a couple of my videos and other similar cheap Chinese radios. Right, and programming them, because when they come out of the box they're not usually programmed. So they're not programmed to the frequencies you'd either be allowed to use or, well, anything really. Now the Baofengs with the displays, the UV5R and similar, they all have a keypad on the front, so you can just switch it on and you can enter the frequency. I've already entered two frequencies in there. We've got 145-500 is a 2 meter calling channel and channel 1 on PMR446 on this radio. And all I've got to do is press the A-B button to switch between the two. Now there are radios that don't have a display. The Baofeng BF-888 series is a good example of that. It's just got the two controls. One's for power on and volume, and one is your channel change, which is 16 channels. Out of the factory, these are programmed with frequencies that aren't really strictly legal to use. People still go out and buy the radios and then switch them on and just use them, but you really shouldn't do that. I have touched on that. So what you're best off doing is buying a programming cable that you plug into your computer and the radio. Now you can get these relatively cheaply. Now this one's based on a prolific, and these have problems. A lot of them use a counterfeit prolific chip, in which case the modern up-to-date prolific drivers will not start the device. It will come up with an error 10, this device cannot start. The way around that is to use older versions of the driver. However, there is another chip that you can find in these, made by FTDI, and those usually work without a problem. Now to program one of these, you don't need to buy any software, you don't even need the manufacturer's software, which often makes no sense at all, because it can be quite confusing. There's a piece of software on the internet called CHIRP. I will pop a link to that in the description below, and you will be seeing some screenshots of CHIRP in the next part. But in this part, what you do is you take your radio, and on the side you've got your headset speaker mic connector, just here. This is a Baofeng BF-888. And what you do is you remove the cover, plug that into the side of the radio, and then this plugs into the computer. Now I'm going to do it on my Windows 10 tablet, because on that machine behind me there, it's very slow and it hasn't worked recently, so I'm not sure what's going on with that, and I've got a few COM ports on there and it sometimes gets a bit confused. So catch me in the next bit where I plug this into my Windows 10 tablet.
Okay, so I've got the CHIRP window up here. I've connected the radio, configured it, and I've already saved a backup of what was already in the radio. But I'll show you what we need to do anyway, because the first step is to download from the radio, so click radio and then download from radio, just like what I've done there. It's probably a bit slow because of the screen capture software, but that's okay. Right, so it'll COM port, that will differ depending on your setup, but vendor for this radio is Baofeng, model BF-888. Push OK. So it then should give cloning from radio, and that's what's in the radio right now. So I want to change that to PMR446 in this instance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the stock config rather than enter all the channels in by hand, which is EU, LPD and PMR frequencies. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to clear all of the existing frequencies from the radio. Now if I press shift and then all the way down to the 16th channel, I should then be able to just press delete, and that will delete them. So what I will do is I'll go into this generic CSV that it's generated for me using the setup provided. I'm going to keep a close eye on the time because I am recording this before work on a Monday morning. So the first ones I want are the first top 8, which I'm going to select, and I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back into the radio, and I'm going to paste those top 8 in. Now that's going to do that because I actually clicked on the frequency entry, which I did not want to do. Action Center popped up there. I'm not sure whether that's gone into the video or not. Hopefully it hasn't. So what I want to do is paste in there, Control V is the keyboard shortcut. Now that's set the power low, which is fine. I don't mind that too much because that way it's within the legal tolerances. And because we have 16 channels on PMR446 now, I'm going to put the other 8 in. So I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to select those, I'm going to copy them, and I'm going to go back to the BF-888, which is this side. I'm going to click on location number 9, and Control V, the keyboard shortcut, and there you go. You can enter the frequencies, CTCSS, and manually. You could set it up for repeaters if you're a licensed amateur radio operator. You could change that power to high. Could change it to high on PMR446 as a bit of fun, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it as close to legal as possible, even though this radio isn't really legal for PMR446. I'm going to press radio, and I'm going to press upload to radio. You'll get the same sort of dialog box as before, except there'll be a couple of differences. You can't change the radio, vendor or model. You can only change the COM port, but we don't need to change that. We press OK. It'll start uploading to the radio. The radio may have a light on it. This one does. It'll start flashing. And the radio will then power cycle itself with those new frequencies programmed into it. And that's that done. And when you're done with CHIRP, just close the window. That's all there is to it.
Okay, so this radio is now programmed, this one, with the frequencies for PMR446, and I can actually demonstrate that. This is an Intec MT5050, which is a legal type-approved 8-channel PMR446 radio, although there is a modification that allows it to go onto the other 8 channels and run high power and everything. I'm not going to cover that in great details. If you want to know what that is, you can search for it. However, I'm not sure this radio is still in production. Okay. I just wake it up. So we're now on P1, which is PMR446 channel 1. This radio, when it wakes up, is on the same channel. So when I key this one up, 1 2 1 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. Audio test 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. Now that's fine, but I think the deviation might be a little bit low on this. 1 2 1 2. Try the other way. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Yeah, I think the deviation on the Baofeng is a bit quiet because this is actually a bit louder. Okay, I'll show you. Okay, that's receiving on the Baofeng from the Intec. And let's do it the other way. So that's now transmitting. You should be able to see on the Intec. 1 2 3 4 5 5 4 3 2 1. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Yeah, I think the deviation is a little quiet or the microphone's in the wrong place. I don't know. It does work though. These are good little radios. when they do work, but they're not brilliant. They are a bit cheap and flimsy, so they're not brilliant for in the field, I don't think. This antenna leaves a lot to be desired. So that's now working on PMR446. It's not strictly legal, but as long as you keep everything set as you should, then you should be fine. Now, part of the reason I'm bringing this up is obviously because I know people buy Baofeng BF-888s and use them on the frequencies out of the box, and therefore obviously just transmitting on frequencies that could be used by emergency services, which won't take too kindly to people that are unauthorised transmitting on their frequencies. So you know, you don't want to be doing that. And I think these radios are going to be in quite high demand because of the, well, especially by the prepper community, especially because of the current situation, we shall say, with COVID-19. And yeah, so there is a likelihood that those radios are going to be quite popular right now. Well, so are the UV5R series, which can also operate on PMR446. Ooh, something kicked in. Probably a local user of the PMR446 channels, but it's okay. Because we've got the 16 PMR446 channels now, there isn't that many new sets with all 16 channels in that I'm aware of. I think they're all still made with 8. So, plenty of space on PMR446 to have a play. I don't play with PMR446 very often because there isn't many hobbyist users of it around here. I'm probably one of the few, if the only, around here in this area. So, well, that's really all there is to it, to be honest. It's quite simple to program those radios up now with CHIRP. I mean, not all of the Chinese radios will work with CHIRP. Some of them do. My surprise with CHIRP, the current version of CHIRP there, is that I noticed that when I first started it up on the tablet, it came up with the Yaesu FT2D, which is a radio I do own, which that requires a hardware modification to transmit on PMR446, and you do that at your own risk because it's an expensive radio and it's strictly not type approved for the service. But there is a small modification you can do to that and all of the other Yaesu amateur radio equipment to transmit on those frequencies, but I wouldn't advise it. But this video is actually about programming up a Baofeng radio for using CHIRP for, well, I specifically chose PMR446 because it's what we've got that's legal here. There are other similar services in other countries which use different frequencies. There's the FRS in the United States, for example. Yep, so programming a Baofeng 888 just doesn't take 2 minutes, as long as you don't have to go through the rigmarole of trying to get your prolific programming cable to work. Just try and get an FTDI one, or just run it straight off a serial port, but those are few and far between on modern computers, sadly. So I hope that's been enlightening, and if it has, then you know, that's great. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, that sort of thing, and I shall catch you, all being well, in the next one. And I'm trying to keep them as much frequent upload as possible. I'm still making sure I've got plenty to come. I'm still keeping an eye on the current situation, COVID-19, make sure it doesn't quite ruin my plans. Because unfortunately I don't have control over what other people do. And a lot of people have been obviously saying this on the end of their videos. I'm going to say on the end of this one as well, stay safe. And keep an eye on your loved ones, especially those that have got health conditions and the elderly, obviously with this virus going around. I'm trying not to mention too much about it, although my belief it's still just a bad cold, but you know, bad colds can still affect people with health conditions and the elderly and such like. So look after yourselves, look after me and my friends and family. And I'll try and keep in touch with my wife every day because at the moment she's the other side of the Atlantic, and you know. Right, 7-3 for now. This is Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on PMR446. like on those radios, or the 11 meter band, like on a CB set. Or you can call me the red squirrel on the CB if you want to use handles. Oh, and yeah, just keep a radio in stock as well, because you never know what might happen with this virus. Is that the infrastructure might go down. I did do a video on that as well, so check out my channel for that one as well. 7.3 for now. Again, stay safe, guys.
Don't forget, you can subscribe to this channel and ring the bell to be notified of new videos as I upload them. 73 is from Paul, Mike 0 Whiskey November Uniform, or 26 Charlie Tango 730 on 11 meters and PMR446.